I have anything I want to mention? Not really, not right now. Hey Sarkin, what's up? I forgot to mute, so I'm here. Hi. I am early because I don't know if I'm gonna stream the full 2 hours or whatever. Because I'm exhausted, but I am here. Yeah, whatever, I'll just put this on since I'm ready here. I didn't mute while waiting for this game to update, apparently. It's at 87% and it's going up pretty quick, so it won't take long, but hi. And in the off chance that I do stream the full time, I'll still stop at 10, and therefore it's a little longer. What time is it? 7:38 for me. Unconscious person and assault reported, and oh man. I'm about to say my city name, but yeah. Oh, I think we're about there. 99.9. You guys ready for some gotcha slop? What are more people watching me on Twitch than you? Oh, wait, on Twitch than on YouTube? I don't know. Twitch is made for streaming? Maybe? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's a good thing. Or that's a good thing though, yeah? Isn't YouTube like restricted for you or something? Or it was at one point, that's why you couldn't watch the streams on there? Okay, let me turn the music on if I forget. I wish I could just mute the game music for certain scenes. I probably can, just gotta figure out how. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Oh my gosh, it's still. Oh. Okay, cool. Am I gonna have to move chat? Maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking about getting a new chat overlay. I don't know. It's cool, but account logged in. Oh, Steam. Age range. Wait, age range? Oh. This was originally a mobile game, so you can only go up to 97. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm seeing. Hold on. Can you see it now? Yeah, there we go. Age range. I have no idea how resource intensive this game is, so Neo may lag. I have no idea. Say I'm 0. I don't know. Am I 0? Can I agree and say I'm 0? I can. What the hell? Okay, that's funny. Oh. Okay, back to this, I guess. Oh, you guys can't see this either. What the hell? This is weird. Yeah, and it was originally a mobile game, which I haven't touched, but... Okay, can I... Okay, you can see that at least. Full screen display, boop, dynamic, turn that on. Frame rate 60, 120, that shit. Party following, turn that shit on. Bloom effects, never really cared about Bloom. I guess VSync is off for that, whatever. If I need to turn stuff off and on, I'll turn them off and on, I guess. For you, best. Oh. You know what, fine, I'll just do best, I guess. I don't really care. There's music audio and OBS, it's alright, okay. Neobunny age 0. And they allowed it too, like... I mean, I guess they would, right? Because it's an option, but why is it an option? That's funny, okay. May have to move Neo, may have to move chat, I don't know. Again, I haven't played this. Oh, was there a language option? Shit, I wanted to... Fuck, is that an English option? This story is a work of fiction. Similarities between characters or events to persons, living or dead, in your world are purely coincidental. But I will warn you, if you choose to proceed, the road ahead is, yeah. This is like the same thing at the beginning of every fucking Persona game, I'm pretty sure. Only starting with 3. If you say no, I'm pretty sure the game just closes. That's what happens in Persona 5. If you say no to that, like if you don't agree, the game just closes. It's kind of funny. That's a big ass loading screen. I didn't mean it. I want the. Oh my god, can I? For fuck's sake. I didn't want Japanese voices on. I don't know if there's an option to turn it up. I didn't think to look in the audio. I'm not used to having to check to turn on English. Oh, whatever. Okay, the mouse is not showing for you guys. Cool. Oh, I didn't check to see if I can make this borderless or not. Japanese voice fills with the atmosphere. It's just personal preference of mine. I'm a dub over sub dude no matter what it is, so I want to be able to hear it and know what they're saying. I have to read the words and not potentially miss any of the action. I mean, this cutscene is just ripped straight out of Persona 5 though, so there's not really a lot to miss. At least it is so far. I assume it'll be different somewhere. This is just 1-to-1 Persona 5's beginning. Oh, that's a little different. The little... Yeah, that distortion, that's different. But everything else is 1-to-1 so far. Oh my god. Okay, that's different. What the? Can I move? I can. I've heard that this game's controller support is ass, so I'm using keyboard and mouse, much to my dismay. I don't like playing non-shooters with keyboard and mouse, but whatever. Oh, you know what? Can I? Let me see. Is it really that bad? You know what? I'll see. Can I sprint? Not yet. Well, that's just oh so slightly quiet. Why does one level go from -35 to like -25? Whatever, here's some good music. Okay. Okay, so far this is the same. I'm not gonna skip it though, just so I can see what's actually different. I assume something will be different besides the distortion somewhere. Nice and chains. Tutorial stuff. Cool. Well, that's big and dramatic. This is different. Is this an ultimate skill? Gotcha stop ultimate kind of thing? Yeah, looks like it. Or... oh, this is different though. It's like when a game developer says that he will release an update in mid-July, and even the beta isn't out yet. Oh, what the? Like it's not even a closed beta? Maybe he's just saying they're continuing to work on the game? I don't know. Oh, it's cool so far. Classic. Classic sword slash as you dash past each other. Oh no, it happens like 10 minutes sooner than it would in Persona 5. Oh no. Oh, it was just a dream. Cool. What was that? I'll auto that shit. What a strange dream. I was wearing a mask fighting this guy who looked like a thief. For some reason, I woke up in a cold sweat. Let's leave that open. It's way past yapping time. Guess I should head to school. Ah, the boring part of Persona games. The social sim aspects. A lot of people love it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I tolerate it because it actually helps for the dungeons, but hate it. I never played Fire Emblem. Was it called Fire Emblem 3 Houses or whatever? Because it, like, half the game was a social sim or something like that. There's a lot of social sim stuff in there, so I just never played it. Let's get this. Yes. Surely soon enough I'll be able to change the audio. This is the same. I guess it would be if it's starting around the same time as Persona 5. Well, I don't know about all this though. Oh no, definitely not the owl. I can take the owl. I mean, I've seen clips of this game though, so I already know what's up with the owl. I don't know exactly when, but I know what's up with it. Well, they definitely put a lot of effort into the what do you call it? The aesthetics of it, at least. You know, for it being gacha slop. Okay, everyone, that's all for today. Hash your career questionnaires to the front. Oh, and make sure to write your name on the top. Not your nickname, not your social media handle, your real name. I want my real name? In my case, it'd be Kumi Katayama. I just know it'll come back to bite me if I don't explain every little thing. You're not wrong, though. So please, don't forget to write your name. I had to use my real name? Man. Nagisa Kamisiro? That's the default name. What's this? Oh. How do I... Okay. I'm trying. Delete face. Okay. Well, it's like last name then first, right? So it'd be Bunny. I think. You know, it didn't say, so I'm just gonna assume it's. Just gonna assume it's first and last since it did not specify. You gonna get my real name, not my full real name. Okay, Neobunny. Yes. Okay. I wrote down Neobunny on the paper. Good. We just saw that. Why'd you have to say it again? I'm suddenly feeling sleepy. Do you visit the Velvet Room in the middle of class? Dude. Yeah, you do. Holy shit. Ooh. We're underwater though, I think? That's cool. Way different than the chains that Joker gets slapped in. Dude, just into the Velvet Room in the middle of school. What the fuck? Space whale. Or velvet whale. Oh, it's not English, so I don't... It's probably the same menacing sounding voice in English. This is definitely not menacing sounding. Hi, Igor. Looking just as odd as ever. How you doing? Ah, that's right. Where are my manners? You may call me Igor. And this here is... Merope? 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 She serves my assistant? What the fuck? I'm Merope. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I have to hear the name in English. This place exists between dream and reality, mind and matter. You are familiar with the concept of choice, are you not? It is that... Oh my god, I don't wanna... Yes, I don't wanna read all of Igor's shit. He talks... complicatedly talks to get... Yeah. Yes, we welcome you here as our guest. And no, you are not unconscious per se. Indeed, looking upon the state of this place may cause you to conclude as such. See this place, a tunnel in a sea of souls, paving the way to the innermost depths of your heart. This music is worrying. This music gives me Code Vein vibes. It's great though, it's great though. No, we're gonna be coming here a lot. This is how we gain new monsters. This place is very important in Persona games. Then that brings us to the end. Oh, my apologies. One last thing. A lack of desire can lead to losing sight of yourself. There are others like you in your world. The master wishes you to keep this in mind. Sorry to keep you. Until next time. Chuckle. What turn? Fateful encounter. Yo, story shit. Girl in front. Bunny, are you okay? You're spaced out. You left the future plans part blank. How do you know that? You seeing? I haven't passed you my shit yet. Future plans. I'm struggling to gather my thoughts. Future plans. Become a phantom thief. Alright. Oh. That's why for the fucking English. I assume all of you who left it blank simply have no plans for the future. That's me. That's me right here. Oh, hold on to this. Why is that so menacing? What the fuck? Everybody's gonna know what they want to do with their future in high school. God damn. Looks like Miss Katayama is in one of those moods again. Okay, homeroom's over, everyone. Oh, right. About the recent menace incidents. I understand some of you may be feeling completely powerless as the number of victims rises. Maybe that's why so many of you are having trouble focusing lately. Everyone try your best to avoid being targeted. Your school uniforms make you stand out enough as is. How are you supposed to avoid getting targeted when the assailants are targeting whole ass trains? How do you avoid that? Just don't take the train. Okay, can I... Okay, it just triggers that. Okay, hold on. Settings. Audio. There is no English audio. Turn them off, I guess. I don't dislike Japanese audio, I'd just rather have English, but there is no cursor mode. Oh. Cursor mode doesn't do shit. No, oh, okay, that's what X does. Cool. Okay, what else we got? Classic. RPG. What? RPG camera. I'm gonna have to see what that is. I have no idea what that means. The fuck is RPG mode? Turn that shit off. Controls. Confirm, cancel, as it should be. Changing persona is RB. Melee is A. B is cancel. There's some weird controls. these bottom ones, but whatever. Okay, whatever. That is slow though. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Okay, what's IPG mode? Oh. That's not really faster. Jesus. I'll put it back to normal for now, I guess. All the way up it goes. Raise that all the way up too, just Am I tripping? Is this okay, whatever. On the default is just walk. Good, good. I need to get to the first floor, but they seem deep in conversation. Look, another post about that creep pouring some unknown liquid on people. Gross, there's a video? Damn, that's graphic. Someone's already sent it in for divine justice. Do you think Magatsukami will condemn him as a menace? I'm gonna turn the auto off since... Whatever. They're too into their conversation to notice me. Hang on, that's like a serious crime. Shouldn't someone report it to the police? Excuse me. I don't know. It's kind of pointless, don't you think? If it's an unknown liquid, I don't know about that. Every time there's a menace, the cops just throw up their hands. I should ask them to let me pass through. I'm gonna send one message for a GeoGuessr game I win. Ooh, that's interesting. Hell yeah. Does that mean that you just won? Sorry to interrupt. Oh, I'm sleepy. I need more velvet. For some reason, I feel my resolve to get past them fading. Would you girls mind moving this chat to the cafeteria? No running in the halls? Oh, you're, whatever. Hey, she just spoke to us. A student council member, and she's loaded. She's like something out of a manga. She's so cool. You can't say that. Are you okay? I noticed you're having trouble passing through. You're a lifesaver. No need to thank me. Just doing my part. I've seen lots of people acting self-involved lately, being inconsiderate to the people around them, and that kind of thing. Don't forget that you can choose to stand up for yourself. People have free will after all, so speak up and use it. True. My own free will. Sorry, I guess you didn't ask for my advice. I'll be going then. You're definitely a persona user in the future. That's not even like an RPG thing. That's not even just a persona specific thing, that's just an RPG thing in general. Important characters get introduced super early. I guess I'll just follow the thing for now, no use in exploring. This ending feels so floaty. Maybe it's just me. It's not bad, just weird to look at. Is he really the one? He certainly seems as though it's been stolen from him. You talking about my will? My will been stolen? What the fuck? How'd you get outside? Oh my god. Okay, that's eerie. Huh? What the hell? Why did it switch? I didn't... Okay. Someone's up on the roof? Oh, it's the girl that just walked past us. No way, is she gonna jump? That's the girl from before. Wow, this really is taking cues from Persona 5. Jesus. I heard that it was, but... Well, from that height, she'll probably live. I know how she feels. It's not like there's anything to live for. Man, I wish I caught that on video. Oh my god. Jesus. Something is very, very wrong. I feel an air of dread. Something terribly disturbing. The world itself feels wrong somehow. I see what people mean, taking heavy, heavy inspiration from Persona 5. But the feeling gradually subsides. That girl, there's nothing I can do to save her. My head is throbbing. I just want to go home. So, even without it, you still managed to question your own will? Ooh-hoo. Ooh-hoo. I found you. At least they chose an owl. Owls are dope. Yeah, it did mean that I won. I also won now, so another message. Oh, hell yeah. Dope. Oh, it's her. Oh, is she the on? Is she the on of this one?
やっぱりお前でよかったんだな。約束通り会いに来てやった。
It's kind of jumping ahead though, which I do appreciate a lot.
見えてないってことともともと備わっていないこととは別物だ。
Persona 5 takes for fucking ever to really start going.
わしにはお前が前者であってほしいと願う欲望がある。
What I consider the intro is like 5 hours long. If it's your first time playing, it's alright. Oh my god. Silent eats? What the fuck? What the fuck? Is this the victim that dude that they were talking about? Does this not take place at the same time as the train incidents? Is this in the future? I don't know. Where am I? Wait, I was on the train, then a bike.
無作為の侵入にしてはいい場所を引き当てたな。
There's the owl. If I squint really hard, you almost have a fierce look about you. Almost. Who are you? What the heck's going on? I always want to know what's going on before who they are. Reasonable response. It seems you still have hold of your curiosity. Heh, looks like finding you was worth the trouble. That's definitely just Mona, though. I know your name. Neobunny, isn't it? You may call me Lufel? Lufel? Lufel. I have so many questions. Do you not use names anymore? How strange. Yeah, I was sure I'd performed a perfect human introduction. Well, no matter. You must still be confused. Oh, are we in Mementos? I just realized. But we're losing time, so I'll keep the explanation brief. Right now, you're not in the world you know. This realm is called the Metaverse. You might better understand it as the collective unconscious, where the masses' innermost cognitions coalesce. Coalesce? Coalesce? How do you say that? In the real world, hope continues to be lost. That's why this world appears to be on the verge of a terrible and tragic collapse. You know, I was really excited when I heard that, like, so much of this game is voice. I was like, hell yeah, I don't have to read dialogue so much. But there's no English. There's no English option, so I have to read it. or let the Japanese do its thing, but hope is lost. You losing your desire to know is just one example. Humanity's hope, desires, motivations are being stolen out from under your noses. Believe it or don't, it makes no difference to me. The fact remains your hope was stolen, but I will show you how to get it back. Huh? Looks like they found us. Follow me. We have to get out of here first. I'll explain the rest on the way. Who found us? Those are very bad step effects. Just come on. All you need to know right now is that I'm on your side. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but it seems I don't have any other options. You can put your hands in your pockets like Joker. Come on, guys. Use a different animation at least. Oh my god, the Mementos music I was never a fan of, though. I'm gonna be real. It's not very instant. Okay. There's no trains coming down this way. Man, if only my model was... If only my model was ready. Oh, I forgot to change the graphics too. Whatever. Man, if only my model was ready so I could show off the prop gun animation thing I was thinking of showing off. If only. But unfortunately, I cannot right now. Give me just a second. Gotta type out. You gotta ban some asshole. There we go. They're done. Okay, cool. Anyways. You've sensed it yourself, have you not? What'd you say? What I said before about humanity's hopes and desires being stolen. Okay. When something goes wrong, you feel the urge to go against your instincts and throw in the towel. He's right. I feel like something deep within my heart is slowly fading away. That rings a bell. It's easy to forget that desire can mean more than greed or lust. It also fuels the will to live. If something gives up on all of their desires or has them stolen, what do you think would happen to that person? Did you ban me? I don't know, sir. Can take a guess. You saw for yourself, didn't you? Someone who could not hold on to hope, and so let go of life. No, he banned me. I don't know about that either. Of course, this won't spell the end of the world immediately, but little by little, it will eat away at humanity and inevitably lead to ruin. I saw that. And the source responsible for this is... Shadows. Is that a baton stick? What the fuck? What is happening right now? Oh. Is the owl this game's version of Morgana? Yeah, seems like it. Those are shadows. In other words, enemies. They're here to kill us. I like the directness. They have no concept of morality. They attack humans by nature. But these aren't their true forms. They're influenced by someone powerful in the real world. I wonder if they're also responsible for draining the hope from the crowd at the train station. How's that possible? Indeed, these shadows. One part of our humanity's desires are being stolen. And now you should run. Just standing there works too, I guess. It is a baton stick, what the fuck? I mean, I'll take it. At least the weapons are like scaled appropriately to his size, unlike Morgana's sword. It's cool, but what the fuck? How's he swinging that? Oh. Damn. At least these games' cinematics are pretty good. There's that at least. Now, if only they added English. And an English voice option. I am thou art I. It's even being choked out, man, just like Kamoshida does. What the hell? God damn. So many damn influence, like, heavy inspiration. And I'm actually a bunny, so this is not an accurate representation of me.
無欲は時に君が君自身を放棄することにもなりうる。
No, this game is absolutely hated. But I'm curious. I did put Gotcha Slop as one of my tags, so just so people know. But yeah, no, it's absolutely hated. Whatever this music that's playing is, I dig it though. I reclaim what's mine. Oh, we actually get some original music in this game? Memento sounded like Memento so far. There's the score music. It all sounded the same so far, so is the battle music gonna be different? That's his mask, what the fuck? It's just a pair of dope sunglasses. It's crazy seeing a game rated overwhelmingly negative. It's not the first one I've seen. It's the first one I've seen in a while, but I don't know. It being a gacha game, I'm not surprised. It doesn't matter what the IP is. If it's gacha, it's just gonna be not good. Oh, it's even the blue flames? Oh, come on. Couldn't at least make that different. I mean, I knew the outfit was gonna be different in a way, but like really, the blue flames to bring a suit on? Come on. Oh, Jesus Christ. Whoa. The persona's different looking. I think. I don't know how to say that. Okay, we have willpower playing. I mean, I'll take it. Oh, that's very different. No idea what those weapons are. I cannot make out what those are so far. Oh, they're guns. Okay. Oh, they're like flintlocks, kind of. And thou art I. What? Sure. Persona obtained. I guess that's weird. That form, it can be. It's radiant, bursting zeal for life. Oh, I can feel it. There's probably no need to ask, but are you ready to fight? Let's roll, just say when. I want a no option. Oh yeah, by the way, oh my god, that was loud. At the very beginning of this, I was asked to put in my age. It let me put my age as 0, so I am canonically 0 years old in this. Yeah, fight or die. Please follow the instructions. Oh. What did I press? What'd I press? What'd I press? What are you fighting for? Channel that desire into power and unleash it. It's the same thing, man. Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay, sure. Done damage to one foe. Oh, it's in melee. Wow, why is... God damn, I'm gonna have to... Okay, hold on, I gotta tab out for a moment. Holy shit, I gotta put a limiter on the chat mic. Holy shit. Well, it's labeled as chat mic in OBS, but it's what the music runs through. God damn, that got loud. It's the first game I've had to do this to. Limiter. Holy shit. Limiter, because I got like up to like almost -10, which is the max for my voice, like my mic. No, well, let me get a -30. There we go. Yeah, we'll do that. Jesus, that got loud. Holy shit. Dan to Dan is so peak. I mean, I know it's an anime, but I don't know shit about it. To think you're waking up Persona on your own. Here I was thinking I'd have to walk you through every step. Who's that? It is the name your power has given itself. Persona is another... Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. And if it wasn't clear, your stolen desires are right back where they belong. Let us hurry onward. We're still inside Memento, so shadows may attack us at any moment. Attack our shadows? I understand you must have many questions. If I die, there will be no one left to answer your questions anyway. Right. I'm glad you understand. You can run, can't you? Persona. Mementos. Shadows. My head is still spinning. But I should follow Luful? For now. Right trigger. Okay, it's just press. That's kind of bad, actually. Why can't it be hold? I mean, I get it from mobile. It's more convenient to press, but like, I wouldn't be able to stop that shit instantly. What terrible timing. I know, right? A place full of shadows? Has shadows? Damn. I suppose now's as good a time as any. Sure. Oh, god damn it, really? It's just last surprise. You can't even do takeover? Come on. This is how you fight. Watch and learn. Oh. Does that anymore come back? That's a little finicky looking, but alright. Oh, and it's an auto attack. Autos was something. Hanpaku gem? Is that the currency? I don't know. Thief Compendium volume, silver parts. Oh, you're gonna make me. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Yeah, I know what... I know. Let's... Sure. You wanna look at all these? Cool, I guess. Okay, so now that I'm in here, what the hell is RPG camera mode? Any different? Maybe it's for battles. We're gonna be able to slash them. Yes. Can I go back? Hold on. Map? No map. Map. Ooh. Oh. Ah, map. It's convenient not to hold the button, but no. Invisible wall, of course. I'll try anyways. You're gonna give me an area, I'm gonna run around. Oh, fine. And just keep dashing. Not really good. I wonder if that's actually faster. Wait, what'd you say? Wait, what? Oh, did you yell at me for trying to run, like, up and down escalator or something? Is that what that was? I was not paying attention. Mementos usually has stairs, not escalators. We're near the entrance. The exit should be right here, but... Wait,
いるのは分かってる。
I know you're there. If you're trying to hide, you're not doing a very good job of it. Who? No, something feels off. This is not the one I was sensing. But this area does seem to be linked to the source that stole your desire. What are you talking about? The metaverse and the real world exist in parallel with each other. They're structurally linked, which means there's someone in the real world whose desires are being exploited, and their will to live stolen from them. Yeah, the girl that pulled a Suzui very blatantly. We can't let this stand. Let's take the desires back. Except the girl that we just saw. Well, she may be coming back. I don't know. Boom. Boom. Looks like that struck a chord with you. This feeling. It appears we won't be able to take down this enemy easily. We need 2 more allies. The An wannabe and the Ryuji wannabe. We already met the An wannabe, I'm pretty sure. Why? Can't say these cutscenes are not good. The game may be shit, but the cutscenes, oh what the heck. Oh, is that your mask? Robroy? Robroy? Roboy. Oh, it's a robot, so robot, Robroy. What the fuck? What is that? What the hell is that? That looks so goofy. Jump scare. Ooh, different music. Hold on. Gotta hear this for a moment. Ow. I hate the healer. I'm listening to the music for a second. Hey, sir, congrats on the win. Okay, this isn't too bad. This definitely feels something that would be in Strikers, but this isn't bad. Okay. Use item. You couldn't just put a use item like on X or something? Isn't that what it is in 5? X and B or some shit? No, I think B is block, but you know. Okay, this isn't bad music, I guess. I'll take it over some of the other battle may skip Persona 5, that's for sure. Is it B? No. Why couldn't you use the 4 controller buttons? Oh, defend works on... Oh, he did it himself, I'm not sure. There's probably an auto battle for everyone. I wonder if I can just set my allies to auto battle, like in Persona. Tatra shot? 10 damage. Inflict Mart. No idea what that is. Fuck your snake. Owlfire? Jesus. Okay. Yeah, then you just auto do a thing. Oh. Maybe auto target's a weakness if it's no? Maybe? Just a pummeling, I promise. Oh, an all-out attack. Heed your desires. Heed your desire to punch a floating skull with ice snakes. Heat it! Oh. Go beyond. Go beyond your desires to beat up skulls. Cool. Nicely done. That was quite the coup de grace. Your skill in battles left me flabbergasted. What do you mean flabber? What? You... What? Oh my god. My dude's dumb. This dude's dumb. Flabbergasted. It means to be surprised. I knew that. Dude, trust me, I knew that. This dude doesn't, but I do. Tell me, do present-day humans no longer use such words? It would appear I must make amendments to my body of knowledge. If all goes well, I was hoping we'd come across them, but it seems we'll need to gather more info first. Them? Is Luffy looking for someone else? However, witnessing the true scope of your power was quite the boon. It seems I'll have no problem putting you to work right away. I just got back from work. I'm so tired, man. I don't want to go back to work. Oh, that reminds me, since I work tomorrow. I do work tomorrow. So the stream will not be 4 p.m. I don't know when it'll be, because Fridays is an earlier day. We start closing at 2, but we're scheduled till 5, just in case. So if I get off work early enough, I'm gonna go run somewhere too. So I don't know when tomorrow's stream will be. It could still be 4, depending on how everything goes, but it may not be. Maybe later, since I'm working. I'm just saying that now before I forget. What are you gonna make me do? Wash dishes? There's the exit. We'll talk in more detail once we've safely made it out. What the fuck? I'm not sensing any hostility from it. It's definitely a shadow, though. It looks like a person. Much is still unknown about shadows. They come in many forms. Some are belligerent towards humans, while others may be agreeable. They pillage the metaverse, lured by strong desires even if they're from a human. It's possible to convince them to surrender or negotiate a trade depending on the shadow's own desires. Oh, you're way younger up close than I thought you were. I thought I was like an old lady. This one appears to just want to sell us something. Seems there are a few irrepressible entrepreneur types in the lot. We can stop by when we have time. She's right there. We'll not talk to her now. I mean, this is probably the cash shop, you know, the real money shop. Let's be real. I'd like to see her wares. I mean, I'm kind of curious what's in there, but it's 100% the real world shop. The real shop. The cash money shop. Appreciate your enthusiasm, but it'd be best for us to get going. Oh no. I'm sorry, ma'am. Well, the tutorial will probably bring us back. Oh. I guess. Okay, she's probably following us. I'm in Shibuya. Oh yeah, we were on the train. I guess this is the Mementos entrance though. I'm back in my regular clothes too. Are you curious about your outfit change? Allow me to explain. In the metaverse, the strength of our desires causes. Did I read that right? Hold on. In the metaverse, the strength of our desires causes. Okay. Hey, don't look at me like I'm a stranger. We just met each other's personas a minute ago. Lufel? Yes, it's me, Lufel. Looks cute. Or she. I cannot tell. This outfit makes me think she, but the metaverse attire sounds like, or looks like a he, so I don't know. Why are you an owl? Because owls are dope, that's why. Personally, in the metaverse... Okay, yeah. Very flimsy armor, but damn, she spent so much time and effort trying to get your attention, and you just walk by her rude. I did try to say I want to check out her wares. I did say I'd try. I wanted to try, but Oh well. Lost a game at GeoGuessr, so no useful message for you this time. No useful message. Oh man. Well, damn. You gotta get him next time. Anywho, that's the long and short of it. Oh yeah, every time Sirkin wins a game of GeoGuessr, he's been saying something. Like something, I guess useful as he put it, but you know. He's been saying something impactful. Is that an L? City Life sure has its surprises. Apologies, but perhaps we should call it a day. I was hoping not to stand out this much. You're leaving already? I want an owl, man. Come on. I'll take you with me. I'll probably go on the end anyways. Your intellectual curiosity is certainly admirable, but I think you've had enough for one day. What with your persona awakening the previous battles, you ought to head home and rest. Do not worry, we will surely meet again soon. After all, I have a job to ask of you. Are you gonna make me sleep? Before then, there's something I need to look into. Once that's done, I'll come find you. Ow. Well, it probably didn't hurt. But, you know. Well, I don't know. If, like, the bone part of the wing did. There's on! What does that portrait remind me of? That portrait reminds me of someone specifically from Persona. Probably 5. I just can't think of who she looked like. She looks like a Persona 5 character. I just can't think of who. I don't know. How did he get here? Oh yeah, she saw the dude try and ram his bike, like ram me with his bike. Then suddenly I vanished, I guess, and from her perspective. Okay, the daily login. Whatever that is. No idea what any of this is. Or is that like, that was like the... Oh, never mind, no it's not. It's late, time to go home. Guess I'm spending the night at an internet cafe. What? Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, there's... Okay, yeah, I figured. I know about the owl, I prefer the cat. I mean, that's fair. Morgana definitely has more personality, but I'll take an owl over a cat any day. Events, oh good. Tags. Guiding out tutorial stuff. Stop it. Oh, wait. That opens map as well as. Oh, why did you let me close it before if you wanted me to do this? Oh, if I was mashing B. What the fuck? Okay, whatever. It just forces you, I guess, if you try and exit. It's like, no, you will listen. Which is fitting, I guess. Oh, wait, where are we? Oh, just some street? Okay. I was wondering where the game would put our home at. Definitely not Yongen Joy or whatever it is. Not near Joker. What's that? What? Oh, you? Lady eyeing the info desk. Whatever. None of y'all are important, so moving on. Movement is so floaty, it's kind of weird. It has been an unusual day. Go home and take a rest. Or at least the intro isn't 5 hours long. Holy shit. Can I pass? Oh, I can't. Jesus Christ. Quick shock. Oh. You've not quick travel to your home. Oh, good. Can I run in here? Why are there so many fucking map buttons? Oh, the world map. Oh no, there's Joker's home. Cafe LeBlanc. Wait, so where are we? Zoshi Gaia. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is Royals? Royal's timeline? This isn't base, this is Royal? Maybe? I don't remember all the locations, but I think some of these are. I think. Don't remember exactly though. I haven't gotten far enough in Royal. I don't know. I'm assuming not, cause it's blacked out. Where's Youngin Joya? Oh, right here. Clear the mission, go to Youngin Joya to unlock Youngin Joya. Okay, we gotta go there first, I guess. There's a mission to go there at some point. Cool. Left trigger. Oh, the... Jesus Christ, okay. Oh, yeah. Get that out of here. Kitchen. I could cook if I had ingredients. Oh, what the f... Are those... Are all those just for show? You have seasoning! Do you not have anything in the fridge? Oh, I don't know. Can't see what's in the fridge. It's like an apartment. What is this? I don't know. Can I go out the back? If I had seeds, I could plant things in the garden. Okay, fair, I guess. I can't even go outside if I don't have seeds. Cool. What's that? Oh. Like a... No, probably not. Ooh. I didn't get to see what RPG camera view is either, so... Well, so in the intro of this game was the same as Persona 5, with Joker in Sei's palace. But this dude in his metaverse attire fought Joker and seemingly blanked him in the head, just like Akechi does. Just, you know, from within the palace. So, but then this dude woke up as if it was all a dream, so I don't know. Joker is adamantly, like, very much part of the story, eventually. I guess. I don't know. I want to know what those are. I mean, if we can't zoom in, they're probably nothing, but I still want to look at them. That's supposed to be a switch? Damn, dude, bad choice, bad choice. Get the Steam Deck instead if you want something like that. Much more worth it. Wait. Okay, let's go sleep, I guess. Let's go visit the Velvet Room, presumably. What does he say? Well, Sei didn't make an appearance, but I'm sure she will. Well, depending on when this takes place. I don't know exactly when this takes place. Good evening. Just noticed that one backwards is now, so I could say one now, and it would sound funny. One now. 5:40 a.m. spelling be like Merope. Merope. I'm in the Velvet Room again? Correct. You have visited this place once before, and from here on shall visit countless times more. You are currently resting in your home. My apologies for disturbing your sleep. My master wishes to impart a message. I must issue you an urgent warning. Am I also about to go into ruin or whatever? First and foremost, allow me to convey my gratitude. You have shown me new potential. Okay, what was with that pause? Was I supposed to let him read that all the way? Curious, are you? Very well. You have demonstrated, yeah, awakening my persona, yeah. No, Ruin doesn't wait. No. God damn it. Why do Phantom Thieves await Ruin? Is this some kind of joke? Wait, really? Are they all gonna get erased? Just like in Persona 5? Really? Really? I guess it makes sense, but... So, does this take place in April? Like in Persona 5? Ugh, I don't know. As I said, this is a warning. However, your vitality, your influence, may forge hope through interaction with other... Oh yeah, so go get confidants. Go get your social links. There isn't need for you to understand this just yet. You're about to face ruin, but you don't need to know. If you find ruin an unsavory fate, it'd be best to seek other allies.
コンシェルジュを務めます。
I will act as your... concierge? Concierge? Whatever. How do you say that? I don't know.
今宵はここまでと
This
申
is all
し
for this evening. At least the Velvet Room looks different. It's some underwater thing, and not a prison. well, when we first got in here, like a whale swam over us or some shit. I called it a space whale, but it's not space. I don't know what the Velvet Room is. Oh my god. Concierge. Cool. Oh, hi. I feel something on my forehead.
おはよ
Good morning. Oh, dude, I don't care if you're on the second floor. You don't leave your window open. Jesus. What are you doing here?
う。挨拶よりも
It seems your desire to know
知りたい欲望を
takes precedence over social necessities.
結構
Perhaps that's a good sign. Your persona has only just
約
awakened.
束したからな
I'd like to answer your questions as promised and speak in more detail about the job I have for you.
目覚ましがな
That alarm indicates that the time for your attendance at school is drawing closer, yes? Given... okay.
ならばふむ改めて昼下
Comestible.
前の学校に出ま
Okay, I'm not sure if I've heard anybody say comestible before. I've heard of flabbergasted plenty of times, but comestible? What's a crumb festival?
昼下が
What? You don't understand?
昼下とは就職
Comestibles are
昼下を見る
food.
ことだ昨今
Oh, okay. Lunch. I've never heard comestible, whatever. No matter, we're business partners now. Let's do our best to understand each other better. What's the deal with this job?
詳しくは昼下の際に話すが
Not sure about that one, Sorokin. I plan to explain in great depth during the comestible hour, but
昨日の活躍
performance yesterday was exceptional. Furthermore, I sense strong potential within you. You may deliver this world from fading hope to salvation, or perhaps to devastation instead. Don't you mean ruin?
お前の
Yeah. Let me go get my studies on first, though.
我は何時
Oh,
何時は我それはすなわち
oh, okay, cool.
破滅の
A compen-
と
a
あ
com-
なたに生命の恵み
A pendulum. There we go. Not a compendium.
何時らの欲
From the flames of desire, I shall emerge fortified. Friendship established. Lufol's business plan will update occasionally. Great. That's a great skill to have.
しても
What do you mean? My room is so clean. Have you seen Joker's room when he first arrives? Planning to move in here?
話の途中ではあるがそろそろ
Apologies for cutting things short, but there is something I must keep a close watch on. Let us meet again at school. A base for nurturing hope. Come to think of it, wasn't I told to nurture a desire to avoid ruin? If I don't hurry, I'll be late for school. Better get dressed. And being dumb leads to ruin, so get to it. Chop chop. Level 4. Pole 4. Love it. Synergy. Oh. Why not just call them social links, or? Alright, well, I gotta hit the sack. Good night. Have a good one, Rob. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, wow. Must be an early workday for him. For you. Wait, today's Thursday? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Friday. Okay, yeah, never mind. That makes sense.
お前のために時間を割いてやる
Press on Y. Oh, okay. Sure. Is that a boat? What is that? I mean, whatever vehicle this Luful turns into. How's it going? Oop. Closet unlocked. You've never been able to change your clothes until just now. Good job. Oh. Is it raining? Select an outfit to change into. What do I have? Blue Town. At the Leisure. Okay. Black Street. What was that bottom one? The Metaverse one, maybe? Oh, rocker. Cool. I don't need a tutorial on closets. Wait, what's my... Okay. Wait. Can I... Okay. Preppy. Just straight up catchies. Alright, whatever. Alright. Cool, I guess. I'll be more impressed if I can access my closet in the metaverse. Oh my god, this camera is so slow though. Why? Oh, is that's why? Really? It would be different, I guess. Oh, so is RPG mode not gonna matter then since I'm using gamepad? At least for now. Oh, that's so much better. Holy shit. It's a little too good, but I'll take it for now. Jesus. Oh, it's a little too fast, but I'll deal with it for now. I have a feeling I'm not gonna need camera work as much as Persona 5. Which already is not a lot. Is that you, Neo? Cheerful woman. Sorry, ma'am, who are you? Listen to you, sounding all grown up and everything. Look how handsome you become. You don't remember me? Keio Tomiyama? Our families would get together and have dinner every now and then. So I do live alone? I'm your neighbor. Wow, you've really grown up since the last time I saw you. I've seen your mom a few times here and there. Oh, maybe not. Oh, speaking of, aren't your folks out of the country for a while? Don't forget, I'm still Tommy from the block. You can call me anytime you need something. I suppose I've dated myself with the reference, haven't I? I don't know what that is, so... Oh, sorry, are you on your way to school right now? That's the uniform for Kakatsu Academy. Oh, so it's a whole ass different school. Okay. Instead of Shujin. I remember when my hubby and I went, oh my god, lady. Oh, thanks. I feel you, dude. I feel you. She kept me from school. Mission start. Go to school. Hmm. Just like Joker, he deletes it. Great. I know who that guy is. I'm not gonna say who, but he's a big meme in the community of this game. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so dramatic, but it's so funny. Oh, we're about to see a scene now. Not the one I was thinking of, but this dude is loco. You see woman run. He does whatever this is. I've seen this scene, this specific part of this scene I've seen, so I know what's about to happen. He goes, it's weird, it's weird. Like, dude, calm down. That guy over there. Oh my god, he's super hot. And he goes to Kiga Academy. I think it's him. Ikanami? You are a sight for sore eyes. Don't be so loud, he'll hear you. Oh right, gotta be careful or I might end up a menace. Good, good. Is that the detective dude, maybe? Kind female student. Are you the Futaba? Are you okay? She instantly fell. God damn it. Some good reflexes on the dude though. Oh, but she dropped a keychain. The doors are closing. That looks goofy as hell though. I looked around the platform, but she's nowhere to be seen. There's a train pass inside with a baseball and catcher's mitt keychain attached to it. Maybe she headed for the ticket gate. Am I cue to go chase?
あれ
Huh? Oh no. Yep, there she is. God damn it.
嘘
You're kidding. I dropped my train pass?
どうした
Okay, dude's mad. So is the dude behind the dude. Yeah, just get out the way for them.
ごめんなさい
Why you look? Geez, like 2 more people behind.
ど
Not
う
that
し
bad.
よう
What do I do now? Where did I... Excuse me. I really need to put... Oh, I felt like this all week. This is horrible. I should really put a mute button on my controller. Are you looking for this? You dropped this. Huh? Oh, you're the guy from before. My train pass. Thank you so much.
これ
This keychain is really important to me.
なくしたらどうしよう
I
って
don't know what I would have done if I'd lost it.
それにさっきも
Sorry about before. I was so disoriented I didn't even say thank you. It did happen pretty fast. I fell asleep, I just woke up. Hi, hey Bucko, what's up? How you doing?
制服
That uniform,
もしかして
is that for
部活ですか
Kokatsu Academy? Nope. Ah, that's right.
やっぱり
I knew it. I thought I'd seen you before in the second year's hallway. Also, my second years, of course. Guess that means we're in the same grade.
って急がない
Ah, I've gotta hurry. I'm supposed to help set up the classroom before first period.
せかしててごめんなさい
Sorry for being so frantic. Thanks for your help. Glad I was able to get it back to her. Come to think of it, I was able to help her without that strange feeling from before. That persona that Lufel mentioned, that power helped me reclaim my desires? I guess so. Oh yeah, this dude. Great. Like, dude, what's he thinking? His face, he's like right there in the open. How the fuck? How the fuck does this dude get away with doing this kind of shit? He just like knocks people down, I guess. I don't know.
はい数学の授業始め
Oh, good math.
にしてもみんな眠
You all look like you're running on empty.
ちょっと頭のアイドリングといきましょう
Power saving mode. What the hell?
目があった君答えてみて
Oh no.
不良とかのグレるって言い方あるじゃない
A metaphor to illustrate how one's actions can impact others negatively compares a person to which rotting fruit? Excuse me? What does this have to do with math? What does this have to do with math? Oh, webcam. Webcam, I'm still here. Is Neo lagging? Is that Neo or is that the webcam? Oh no, I don't know. I can't tell. Yo, webcam. Yeah, right there. Yo, webcam. Let me tap out for a second. Let me go check Let me go check. Oh, we good? We good? Okay, we're good. Anyways, what's this have to do with math? Oh, nope, I tab back in. We're not good. Neo's freaking out. He doesn't want to do math either. Oh, he's also wondering what this has to do with math. I'm equally curious. What's this have to do with math? So which rotting fruit? Metaphor to illustrate how one's actions can impact others negatively. Apple? I don't fucking know. Hey, Apple. There we go.
そう
Why are all the people walking so slow there? I have no idea why. Also, Neo's still freaking out. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he was also tired of the people walking slow. By the way, I calibrated to Silver Division. On GeoGuessr and got tired of that. Oh, hell yeah. So, I mean, So I'm back to just sending useless messages. Nah, they're not useless. But hey, congrats, I think. If you were lower, then congrats. If you were higher, then man, you'll get back there. One bad apple spoils the whole barrel, as the old saying goes. Oh, fair. Okay, cool. Neo is not having it. As long as the game runs, I don't care if Neo's a little lagging behind. I might remind one of the recent menacing incidents. See, my iPad is not charging, so if I stop talking, it might be because it died. Oh no. Twitch is beating the charge. The charging of the iPad? Damn. Well, what happened yesterday was pretty scary, wasn't it? What are you talking about? Oh. The bike dude running into you. Oh, just randomly stopped on its own. That's weird. You're kidding, right? It wasn't exactly something you could easily miss. I mean, what kind of person rides their bike through a train car? By the time the station attendant showed up, the rider was already gone. And the person they hit doesn't seem to be doing too great either. I wonder if they'll be condemned as a menace. That's definitely menace, like menace condemn worthy. You haven't heard of Magatsukami's Divine Justice? I'm more curious about the Divine Justice, I guess. It's the name of a website that compiles videos of people who've been seen causing trouble throughout town. The person who runs the site is called Magatsukami, because that's not their actual name. Oh, of course, that's not their actual name. Apparently, if you're condemned by them, you're officially named a menace. But honestly, I only scroll through the site to kill time, so I don't really know much about it. Why not just call the police? Apple on the way to start using normal charging methods. Apple. Oh yeah, because I did. There's no criminal intent or any hard evidence, so there's not much the police can do about it. But still, the dude that shoved that one lady and a bunch of other people, there's no cameras like down there like in the subways? What the hell? Or they're just unwilling to make a move. It's probably that one. For some reason I'm getting a bad feeling about this. But it seems like Divine Justice is getting really popular. It's got more subscribers than a B-list celebrity channel. Yeah, let me pull it up. Good. Hang on. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. How is it you ended up in Shibuya yesterday? 1 minute you were on the train, and then you just disappeared. That's kind of weird. Moto-ha? Let me grab Oh, let's go grab. Up on the way, here. Why are there no new viewers, by the way? My little Twitch statistics stock thing is saying 4. I don't know. This game's not exactly well received, so... My iPad is 5 years old, so it uses a normal charger. Oh, well, if it's that old, that could be why it's not charging very well. That's old. Are you playing, like, day games that no one watches or what? This game's actually fairly new. Fairly new for the US, at least. It got released, globally. Well, not globally, but, Japanese exclusive for a while? But, I mean, this game just got released, like, a month or so ago for the US. It's new, it's just not liked. I mean, hell, hold on, let me show you the Steam reviews for this game real quick, right? Persona 5 The Phantom Hex, that's what I'm playing. Store page. Yeah. Recent, overwhelmingly negative, all mixed. This game's just not well received. I was just curious about it. That's why I'm playing it right now. That and because I didn't know what to play for the stream, so... We met this morning. You're in the same class as Moto-ha? Thank you again for finding my train pass. I'm Tomoko Nope. Ah, fuck. I didn't hear her say it. Tomoko from Class D. Motoha and I are best friends. Nice to meet you. Call me Bunny. Wait, hang on. Since when do you two know each other? You really helped me out of a jam this morning. Wait, am I interrupting something? Nope, not at all. Are you still exhausted by the way Persona 5 healed you? I'm still fairly tired. But I mean, I'll stick around for another hour. Like my usual after work streams, so. We're still getting lunch, right? It's gonna get crowded if we don't hurry. Oh crap, it's already that late? Ugh, we're really late. It's probably a circus in there by now. Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. Let's go. Wait, grab your phone. Take your phone. Oh, I knew it. She has the app. Wait, that app. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know, I'm not really... I should, if I really do want to grow, I should play the popular games. Or at least play them on time. This is about as close to on time as playing a new game as I've been, if I'm being real. Ah. Ditch the bestie already, huh? We keep running to each other today, huh? Or was this after school? Motoha was worried her favorite bread would sell out, so she went ahead to the school store. Even though she brought lunch from home, kinda reminds me of how she used to be before she stopped playing. Playing what? Back in the day, Motoha and I would play baseball together, but she ended up quitting the team. Oh, is she the Ryuji? I thought maybe she was the An, but maybe she's the Ryuji. You do get Ryuji before An in 5, so that could be the case. She's been pretty down ever since, but lately she seems to be getting more upbeat, which is a big relief. Yeah, she has that app, so... Oh, and I bet I know why. Maybe it's because she sits near you in class? I don't think that's it. It's probably thanks to you. No, I haven't done anything special. All I can do is try and be there for her. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be holding you up. I don't even know where I'm going. You're headed to lunch now too, right? Where do you usually eat? I told her I plan to eat on the roof today. The roof? So that's why you were heading for the stairs. Where's my lunch? Heh, big fan of the private fine dining experience. Did she say something else? I guess some of my classmates are like that too. Anyway, I should go meet up with Motoha. See you later. Just skip that, okay. Experience gained. I should head for the roof. Okay, hold on. I forgot to change one other setting. Can I change this to borderless? Yeah, give me that shit so I can tab out without the game potentially. Right? Can I? Nope, the music still stops. What the fuck's the point then? Alright, whatever. To the roof. Yesterday, like 12 hours ago, I had 1 hour of sleep in 24 hours and then started a stream that suddenly healed me, so I am still on the roll till this moment. You should sleep! Sorry, I had 2 hours of sleep in the last 36. You need to sleep, it's important. Doesn't matter if you can do it. You need it. That miso smells really good. Like, I look super pissed though. Now, where's Luful? Over here. I've come to answer your questions as promised. What you witnessed yesterday, mementos and shadows. This isn't something for the faint of heart. Are you ready? That's why I'm here. Very well then. The other world you visited is called Mementos. Mementos is an embodiment of the collective human unconscious, manifested as physical space. If you imagine the real world as one side of a coin, Mementos exists in perfect parallel on the opposite side. Mementos is filled with the consciousness of various humans, so it would be a propos? I haven't heard that one either. So it would be a propos for you to consider it a cognitive realm. Cognitive realm. Think of it as a space constructed from the thoughts and feelings people hold towards their world. It is a dark world, bleak and malignant, a place that light itself cannot reach. That is to say, at present, people cannot ever even imagine the existence of hope in their world. And I am sure you know why, do you not? It was taken from them. Precisely. You're quite a sharp one. Now, to continue. The metaverse contains two distinct species of shadows. The first, enemies that attack with no rhyme or reason. These shadows are not human, but monsters formed from warped desire. The second, shadows that are born from the darkness of a human's heart in the real world. A person's true nature concealed within their heart, the embodiment of their desires. To put it differently, another self. You mean like my... Ooh, you should already be aware of this. Because you awakened your shadow as a persona. However, not just anyone can control what lies inside their heart. By some reason, if by some reason, once desires become corrupt, the shadow will run amok. In the real world, that person becomes willing to hurt others with reckless abandon. And Koya making a show. I sent you the character list and character sheets in varying levels of detail. Well, is that what that is? Okay. What the? Bear spray? What the? Okay. That person has been using the metaverse as a means to exploit the desires of others, and I am intent on catching them. Are people's desires being stolen because someone's shadow has gone berserk? How can that be? Flower. These are all characters. I mean, there's faces, so... Jester hat. That's supposed to be, Jevil. Is that like Jevil's hat or something? Shadows the metaverse and what becomes of those people who've lost all desire. To make matters worse, when a human shadow goes out of control, the warped desire can influence the shadows around them. While it may be inadvertent, the triggering of those shadows stands as one cause for the loss of hope seen across the real world. You are kinda info dumping hard, holy shit. However, much about the metaverse still eludes me. Therefore, it is of critical importance we learn more about it. I hate to throw so much at you at once, but I would like to move on to discussing the job I have for you. Good. I mean, I understand it because I play Persona 5, but you know. Someone new playing this that actually wants to know the story. The thing you mentioned yesterday? That I did. Simply put, I wish to employ your abilities. I want you to join me and become a phantom thief. So it's already a known term at this point. As to what we will be stealing, I am sure you can already guess. I believe this will provide you the chance to experience the full range of your newly awakened persona's abilities as well. Am I being average? This is all too much too fast. One cannot choose the time that opportunity comes knocking, though I can understand your hesitation. That was a quick-ass lunch break, goddamn. Let us leave it here for today. Perhaps it will be more efficient to explain further once I've introduced our target. I will be waiting for you in Shibuya after school. For you humans to recover what's been taken from you, we must steal it back. To that end, we'll begin preparations later. See you soon. I didn't agree to this. Don't fly off after that bombshell. Oh, I try and catch him. Oh, I do. What do you think you're doing? You ruined my takeoff. Oh, forget it. We can continue this later. My Twitch was just tweaking for the past 10 minutes. That was a big info dump. Maybe a Twitch didn't like the info dump either. I don't know. Memento shadows? What do you mean by stealing back what was taken? What the heck is a phantom thief? I also didn't eat during my lunch break. Fuck. Oh yeah, I still haven't eaten yet. Lunch break's about to be over. Gotta hurry to the school store. You just casually walk off. Wait, you were up here too? Did you just hear all that? Did you see me talk to an owl? God, it's so floaty. It's like it takes some giant ass strides. God damn. Oh, don't land on the app. Oh, okay. I thought for sure I was gonna land on the app and just pop them into mementos. Sorry, I was so deep in thought I wasn't looking where I was going. It actually had something to do with you. Why does she look so familiar? That portrait, who the fuck in Persona 5 does she look like? I can't think of it, but she looks like someone. No, it's my bad. Oh right, here's your phone. Looks like it wasn't scratched or anything. Oh, it was my phone? I thought it was hers. Wait, that icon. She looks like Sayori from DDLC. Oh, she kinda does, yeah, that's true. Professional baseball over there. I mean, that's true, yeah. Let's save the diving catchers for outside, shall we? Oh, Rico. Sorry about that. I just didn't want his phone to break, so I... Looks like you'd still make the starting lineup even now. That's ancient history. You're the one from the other day. Thanks again for your help. Have we met somewhere before? It's Emo Yuri. It was nothing really, but it seems like there's something different about you. No, it's probably just in my head. Anyway, 5th period's about to start. Don't be late, you two. There's something about you, almost like you're the protagonist. It seems different than before. I do feel more determined, probably since my desires aren't being stolen anymore. After Bunny? The period is in the lab. If we don't leave now, we're totally screwed. Guess that means no lunch for me. That's why you pack a lunch. Neo, I feel like you would enjoy Ribbit. People said I should meet him in Shibuya. Okay, so it is a him. Wasn't sure. It was on Bunny's phone too. This weird app that keeps reappearing no matter how many times I delete it. I asked around, but no one has any idea what I'm talking about. So why does Bunny have the exact same app on his phone? Plus he disappeared into thin air while on the train yesterday. Something seems off about him. Huh? Tomoko? Don't you have clubs today? The club room's closed for maintenance, so we have it off. Thought it'd be nice to walk home together. Sure. What is Ribbit? R-I-B-B-I-T? Check it out on my phone since tabbing out the game closes. Turns the music off, it's just annoying as fuck. R-I-B-B-I-T. So you've come after all. I am somewhat fatigued. Your half-empty bag makes for a comfortable reprieve. Okay, good. You're just like Mona in there. Just like natural. Standing out too much will let our target. Target? Delta and mod, but it revamps the entire story. I'm so dumb. I just typed in Ribbit. I got the definition of the sound frogs make. I don't know why I assumed that'd be... It would instantly tell me. Oh, there we go. The 4th thing. Ribbit Deltarune. It's only for chapter 1, so there's no chapter issue. Oh, I mean, it's a whole story thing though. Is it like full of memes or some shit? Oh, good time. Now look over there. Oh. God, that fucking dude. This is our target, Takayuki Kyuchi? Yeah, it's filled with memes. Oh, good. Good. He works for a company in Tokyo. What's he doing? People have taken to calling him the Subway Slammer. He targets women he thinks won't fight back and intentionally body checks them. His way of satisfying a certain desire, the most repellent kind of human. That's pretty pathetic, what the fuck? I feel the same. It gets kind of serious, but you also eat half a bed. What the fuck? Oh, that sounds humorous. To him, it's just an ordinary habit, but the root cause lies in the metaverse. I'm sure you can figure out why. His shadow's gone out of control. Precisely. Although, I've yet to confirm the state of his shadow for myself, so it is just conjecture at this point. At a glance, this sort of behavior might not seem all that threatening to some. For that reason, the police refused to take action. Simply claiming it was an accident is enough for them to drop the issue. So the victims are left with no recourse but to give up as their faith in the world erodes away. To be precise, Kyuchi's self-serving misdeeds are causing his victims to lose hope. Alright, so like, I understand that they had to come up with something, but like, is him body checking people like this making people lose all their hope to like live? Oh, his body checks that serious? Like, goddamn, I get to be annoying, but I don't know. Okay, so it's either I go sleep now and wake up at 3 p.m. or I wait 40 minutes for the stream to end. I won't have time to censor a new video. Wake up at 5 p.m. and upload it and start a stream if my guy wants to join. I mean, either one's up to you. As long as you're getting sleep, that's all that's important. It doesn't matter when. Let's stop him right now. Maybe we can reason with him. Nah, we're stopping him. It won't work. If a shadow is running loose, then there's no way for us to stop his actions in the real world, and no chance he'll listen to reason. The irony is, as long as he continues to believe there's nothing wrong with his behavior, he will never change, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. If we were to confront him there was a possibility that he'll fly into a rage and endanger anyone in the vicinity. So, in the worst case, he's after her. I can't stand by and do nothing. Oh, is this the meme? Is this the meme? I think this is the meme. Oh, maybe it's not. Oh, no, it's not. He just runs away like teehee. Well done. School starts on the 25th. I'm so excited. You're excited for school? Oh man, I could never be excited for school. I hated when it started. I was so glad when I graduated and didn't have to go again. Fending off selfish desire with righteous indignation. You truly have awakened. But now he's seen us. We should get out of here. He is kind of just staring. Oh. What the? Oh, that's bad. Oh, whoa. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, that got serious super quick. What the fuck? So this dude can see the future? Is that what happened? Oh my god. What are you talking about? It appears you're seeing things. Perhaps you're so exhausted from yesterday's excitement. We should get away from here for now. Kyuchi is surely on his guard. He's just staring. Let us make our way to the station square, where we exited Mementos last time. Interesting. Is that Bunny? What's he doing here? It looked like he was talking to that guy over. Sorry. Yeah, because I can see my friends again. The worst thing I get called is a hole, but I kind of own that now. Do you? I mean, as long as you're excited for school, that's good in the end. If you're excited for school, I can never. Apparently, the ticket gate didn't like my train pass, so I got held up at the gate. Is something wrong? Nope, all good. Want to hit the underground mall? Oh, hell yeah. I forgot that was location. 2 level ups. Oh, I forgot I had the camera turn so fast. This feels like a good spot for now. Let's get back on track. You understand the point I was making, yes? It won't be possible to stop Koichi from the real world. As I said before, I doubt the police are going to be of any help either. Their desires are being siphoned just like everyone else's. Sometimes there are problems with such magnitude, it takes the whole world working together to reach a solution. In our current state, even people's basic human desires are evaporating. We are in crisis. So what are the options? There is a way for us to stop it. We find Koichi's shadow in the metaverse and steal a certain precious item from it, thereby becoming phantom thieves. Precious item? I refer to such items as treasures. Treasure. But before we get into that, as you are aware, the metaverse is filled with shadows and other dangers yet unknown to us. Wait, yet unknown? Yet unknown to us. Okay. Here's what I need you to understand going forward. By taking on this job together, you and I will become business partners. Do you truly understand what it means to be a phantom thief? What say you? Now I'm not so sure, just ellipses. Do ellipses, I guess. I spoke ellipses. Well, that's to be expected. Until yesterday, you were an ordinary high schooler, and here I am asking you to take on a job that will put your life at risk. But I want you to remember this. All those who've been abused by the egocentric actions of people like Koichi continue to lose hope every day. The worst outcome being that abuse drives them to take their own lives. But you awakened your persona with your unquenchable thirst for life. And seeing as shadows can only be defeated by personas, you're the only one who can take action against them. If fiends like Koichi are pushing people to the brink of despair, then you may have the power to lead them back to light. Robot Pineapple is amazing and I love him. I was on the first and we were writing a mock exam like the first day and oh, what the hell? Oh, that's awful. Jesus. What's your endgame here? I will tell you after you become a phantom thief. All I can say for now is I strongly believe humans should embrace their desires. If I turn away now and pretend this never happened, why is there a load? Why is there like a loading cut? Something horrific will likely come to pass. Your answer, if you please. I'll try to do what I can. Why not to load? That's what I've been longing to hear. Let us head to Memento straight away. I trust you have your Metaverse Navigator handy? The where and the what now? What the hell? The eye-shaped icon on your phone. The Metaverse Navigator. Give it a tap. You pulled that phone out really fast, holy shit. That's why I put in no effort and get above average grades, so why be sad? I mean, that's fair, I guess. Our work has officially begun. From here on, we'll need to establish code names for ourselves. Why? As I stated previously, mementos is the collective unconscious of the masses. If we use our real names, it might have an effect on their cognition and risk our identities being discovered. Therefore, we should use code names while working to keep our real identity safe. In any case, don't you find the thought of having a code name rather debonair? That's another one I've yet to hear. Who's Deborah? Run that by me one more time. What? You don't understand debonair? It means spiffy and happening. Hip and cool. As for your code name, since I find you to be a marvel beyond my own imagining, we shall call you Wonder. Got any other ideas? A keen intuition is necessary for this kind of thing. My intuition tells me that you should be called Wonder. Fuck you, your name is Wonder. And I would like you to refer to me as Cattle. Excuse me, Cattle? Cattle, why? What's that supposed to mean? I'm not sure myself, but this is another intuition that I have. I shall henceforth be known as Cattle. Alright, whatever. I will share the details of the job as we make our way, including the treasure I mentioned earlier. Now then, Wonder, let's move. Oh, good. Good timing. You were so focused on calling yourself Cattle. Your shadows must be under the influence of Koichi's warp desire. Wonder, strike them down. I don't think you need to tell me, but you know, it's whatever, I guess. Okay, I'm in control now? Oh, I only have the one skill right now. Ah, it's not surprise too. Give me takeover. Damn it, I want takeover. Guess we don't have a gun. Or I guess we will eventually. Okay, I control you as well. What do you have? Fire. Oh, wait, it already says weak. Wait, how do I... Oh. Battle settings. Show chat during battle, change personas in auto, highlight, simplify battle results. That's fine. Okay. Change the graphics in here. Cool, I guess. Is there no way to see the enemy's affinities? Why are they max actions? That's dumb. Not that I can see. Toggle cursor mode. Oh. Yeah, whatever. That persona still looks so weird. I don't know. Why did my auto attack do more damage than Luful's weakness hitting move? Skullcracker. That just Joker sound? Kinda sound like Joker when he dodged, I don't know. The natural chance for crits to knock him down. Probably right. I love him having like dual batons though. I don't know why, I like that. Ooh, I can do a thing. Doesn't take long to do. How do I... Oh, okay, that's how. I guess. Oh, okay. High B, mid A. My school uses a 1 to 8 scale. So I guess reason instead of letters. Straight B student, I believe I'm average. The average in my school is a 3. A 3's an average? We were surrounded before. Why is it suddenly a big deal? Because there's 2 more? Oh. I'd really like to, but a way out is blocked. We'll have to fight a way out. I'll deal with the shadows behind us. You cut your way through. Ooh, cutscenes. Oh, this is where... Okay. So we're about to get a new awakening here. He's adapting to his new powers pretty well, though. My dude here. The protagonist, whatever his default name is. Bunny. Oh, it's just straight up Joker. Hi, dude. Yeah, so he's been doing this for a while then. That's not what I expected, but okay. It's kind of cool. Ooh. Oh, there's the X and Phantom X. There's the X. Oh, you can't just give me willpower and then stop it in like 5 seconds. Resist it. Oh, bye, dude. Okay, okay. Bye, I guess. He disappeared. What just happened? That was Joker, but you don't know that. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Anyway, let's get moving, Wonder. We may have cleared out the enemies, but we shouldn't dawdle in a place like this. Dawdle. Dwaddle. Ooh, Velvet Room time. You have been summoned. Fuck everything else you're doing. Come with me. That did not look like a throw, but sure, we'll pretend she threw him. We'll pretend that, we'll pretend. I brought Bunny as requested. I chucked his ass in here. In the real world, you're on your way home from school, hence your appearance. So you have made another deep, intriguing decision. What are you talking about? To become a phantom thief?
主が以前におっしゃっ
Best
た
inform me
破滅
before
に抗うための
about
欲望の
strengthening your
ため
desire to ward off
あなた
ruin.
様が
Your decision to enter the metaverse tells me you possess the will to do just that. As such, we may offer you our support.
試したいことがあると言っていたね。
Marope, I believe there was something you wanted to try. Go ahead. Eagle has a funny name. It's kind of a funny name. I have no idea if that's like there's any like cultural significance or something to the name Igor,
さ
but
あこの契約書にサインを
sign the contract of fate. Please write your signature on screen. Excuse me, you want me to write? To write my signature on screen, do I? Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh.
とよはじめましてよろしくお願い
Oh, this is the summoning. Okay, I was like, oh, I only get one chance. Okay. No, this is
あなた様が先ほどご覧になったものを
the polls, you know.
存在
These are the character polls, the persona polls, and all that. That's what this is. The beings you have just witnessed are cognitive forms. Cognitive forms? I know quite some Igors.
そう
Oh, that's a Russian name to me. I know quite some Igors. I have no idea what the origin of the name is. It could be. I have no idea. Yes, there are manifestations I constructed from cognitions buried deep inside your heart. Whether there are persons you know closely, familiar faces you've seen in passing, or those of whom you have no memory, but came into contact with unwittingly, that I do not know. Yeah, okay, sure. I have no memory of them.
今はあなた様が認識していなく何にせよあなたそしてさながら
Yeah, I'm
アイド
sure.
ルユニットさながらにあなた様の戦闘それを名付けて
Phantom idols.
カイドルが扱うペルソナデュオはその原型はメメントスをたゆたうシャドウと認知元のまた回答にはコードネームがよって僭越ながら私めから
You're so well prepared. Sorry, this is all new info to me, so
これまでにない達成感を今後も私めからの
I feel hope rising within me.
それは
Clink, clink, clinkies. Friendship established. You can sign contracts to recruit more phantom idols.
そう
Oh, there's one more thing I must inform you of. Else within your sight guard, there exists not just one personality or persona, but multiple. Yeah, I'm a wild card. As your perceptions materialize, they take root in your heart. These faint flickers you feel emerging are potential personas. Honest phantom idols, their persona duos, and everything else at your disposal, and you may yet escape the coming ruin. That reminds me. So the guy from earlier was the guy in black who saved us. I am unaware of such a person, but
やはりというべきだろう。
just as I thought.
ああ、失礼。
Forgive me, there are still many mysteries in this world, and perhaps some distortions as well.
様々な意識の交差
Irregularities formed from the endless intermingling of consciousness,
特別な
the extent of which we can never
もし
know.
あなた様がご興味が
If the matter intrigues you, I would suggest taking action. It will likely prove another way to strengthen your desire. And I, as your concierge, will continue to offer you the fullest extent of my
で
support.
は。
Right, get the fuck out. Meow, 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 meow.
お前ぼーっとしていたよう
You
だ
went
が
blank for a moment there. Something the matter? Just like an idol duo. And they have codenames too.
お前がワンダーで
Your codename is Wonder, mine is Cattle. Was that relevant to something?
さてはお前
You must be fatigued. Between school and battling those shadows, you've certainly overdone
そう
it.
いうことなら便宜
In that case, I know just the thing.
喜んでくれている
Brace yourself. What are you about
こ
to
の
do?
姿を見せる
You, Wonder, are about to be the first human to ever witness this? Oh, this is his vehicle transformation. What do you turn into? A taxi?
これでいい
Phew. This will do. This will be ears on top of devil horns. Why are you a car? Mona turns into a bus, I guess. Luful turns into a collar. Okay. A little underwhelming, but sure. You mentioned that Mementos contains the cognition of the masses, yes? Well, I just made use of someone's cognition about animals transforming into vehicles. Why such a thought is abundant here, I do not know. Now get in. I'll need you to be the driver. And he just gets right in. I've never driven before. I don't have my license. Start the engine and step on the gas, then use the wheel to steer. I'll keep an eye out and take action if need be. Excellent, now let's get to work. First, let's head deeper into Mementos. I will alert you as we approach our destination.
ミッションコンプリートよ。
Plans. Help Bluefoot progresses business plans to obtain rare rewards. Contracts. Alright. Also, are the contracts the polls? Drawn with gold tickets, platinum tickets, metaverse. Yeah. That's exactly what I fucking thought. This is the polling here. Uh-huh. Riddle. Okay, maybe that's not what that was. Well, let's get out of there. Wait, there's a second page? It's on page 2. Oh. Oh, cool. You guys can see that. Popped up the thing from earlier again. Cool. Alright, whatever. Oh my god, that's so fast, Jesus. Let me lower that a little bit, just a little. Jesus. It's kind of funny, but... how's 5 look? That's a little better, I guess. Okay. Oh, but it like... Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Instead of a prompt. Just ram him with the car. Not as many as before, but don't drop your guard. Here they come. Oh, you do ram him, but it probably doesn't do much. Mario Kart, let's go. Oh, Eligor. Not sure about the other two. A new enemy? So they are allies. That is the pull system. It's a phantom idol. You know what that is? Then I trust you. Let's wipe out those enemies. So that's how that works. Okay. Interesting. There's really no way to... You really can't see their weaknesses. Oh, from up here you can. That's dumb. Ice light? I'm gone. Frost the Lily. Oh, that hits everyone. Can I not? Oh, it looks like I can, but we'll just do it. Interesting. Okay. I'm just kind of taking in the new mechanics. About that Phantom Rival, was it? Phantom Idol. Not Rival, Idol. Very different.
何やらこだわ
They
り
seem to
があ
have
るよう
an
だが
uncompromising air about them. Well, no
ペル
matter.
ソナに似た力を使う
Cognitive forms with persona-like power.
この発想は
I never could have imagined such a thing exists. I'll let you manage these phantom idols, as you put it.
先を急ぐ
Back in the car. Back in me. Yeah. Phantom thieves. Enhance your skills. Oh. I unlocked what we are. Great.
次は
さて仕事の時
It really does. If you refuse to listen too many times, it just forces it. Do they not level up naturally? Oh, they do. It's just so slow.
注目しておくぞ
As you would expect with this kind of game. Want me to do it again? I mean, with this kind of game, this is expected, but still. Sure.
継続は力なり。
その欲望
Wait, unlock what?
ない
Awareness? At the start of battle, inflict a burn on the foe with the highest remaining HP. Also increase allies elemental. Okay. Okay, so that's okay. Great. Here's the gotcha. A big gotcha roll right there. What's this? Bunch of bullshit. Cool. Okay.
場所を選んで正解だ
Cool. Let me out. Okay. Have to mess around with that later. Not on stream.
気になる男子。
A boy you're curious about?
うん
Yeah.
へえ。
Ooh, who is it? Someone from school?
それは
Well,
ともこは昔からわかる
sweet Tomoko. I can read you like a book. Think your advice for more than just baseball.
あのね
Okay, listen. It's not that I like him or anything. I'm just a little curious is all. Oh god, she is Sundari.
立ち話もなんだし
Let's get some food and you can tell me all about it. Oh good, that dude. The shoulder checker.
あの髪の短い方
Uh-huh. This does seem very, very tame in comparison to
情
Kamoshida.
報によればこの
Alright,
辺り
according to my
が
intelligence, this is the spot. Who told you that?
わしはこの
As a native to the metaverse, I have a certain level of understanding about its structure. I can hear, just barely, the voice of the heart of the collective unconsciousness. Unconscious. You probably can't hear it yourself, but I use it to gather information on the metaverse.
確かこの
It's certainly around here. Hmm?
間違いない
There's no mistake.
この先が木内の
Kyuchi's palace is just ahead. It is weird that palace is inside mementos. That is weird. Palace? Within the vast bounds of mementos exist locations manifested from the warped desires of certain individuals. Like a fortress from which the shadow of an unscrupulous human can steal his desires. What is with this lingo? Here Kyuchi rules as the castle's king, and enemy shadows are his loyal subjects. It really did just take from Kamoshida, Jesus. This palace is also the site of our first job. Come along, Wonder. Is me pronouncing the N-word when singing lines from a song something I should censor for YouTube? Absolutely. You should 100% censor that anywhere. YouTube, Twitch, real life. Unless you have the end pass, then you can say it in real life, but definitely for YouTube. Definitely for YouTube.
ここが木内のパリ
So this is Kyuchi's palace, huh? Looks a lot more like a baseball stadium to me. I suppose Kyuchi has a vivid imagination. LTY, what's that? Oh, party formation. Yeah, okay. Wait, hold on, go back. What's that harmony thing? Oh, okay. Come on, don't give me space to go that way if you're not gonna let me go that way. Seems like we won't be getting in through the front door. It's a huge ass door. How'd you think you'd open that? Should we bust it open? Think there's another entrance? I love the obvious PNG that's supposed to represent inside the door. I know this game was made for mobile originally, but like, come on. Let's investigate the surrounding area. Ah, shit. It's funny. Looks like we could get in through the duct. You gonna fly on over there? Sorry to disappoint you, but I am unable to fly in the metaverse. Besides, I would stand no chance against enemy shadows as an owl. And of course, this form has a much more stylish Phantom Thief feel to it, don't you agree? Stylish, but I don't want practicality here. I think I know of a way in. Simply locating Kyuchi's palace is good enough for today. Great. Let's return to the real world. We can discuss the next steps there. I got this game being English. I wouldn't have to read so much. We're back. Now then, I'd like to coordinate our plan for infiltration. Do you have a workbench we can make use of? What do we need that for? I have some crafting expertise to share with you. To enter the palace through unconventional means, we'll need to construct some special instruments I like to call infiltration tools. But we'll need a workbench to make them, which I'll assume you don't have based on your expression. Then we'll have to procure one. Now where would one go to pro... Oh god, it's her. Hello again. What are you doing milling around here? I'm trying to find a workbench. A workbench? Are you planning to take up a new hobby? Why don't you check the second-hand shop in Yongen Jaya? Oh, that's Joker's home. They probably sell that sort of thing. Neo, have you been to Yongen before? Maybe. It's a better answer. You can take that line straight from there. Oh my god. You can take the Hanzomon line straight there from Shibuya. The line's right down those stairs there. Ah, Yongen. That brings me back to when my hubby and I decided to move in together. We were both broke back then, you see. So we went to the... Yep. I don't care about your backlore, lady. I hate to say it, but there's nothing in my power to stop this lady from talking. If you wouldn't mind stepping in. Oh my, look at the time. I've got to get dinner started. My hubby's coming straight home from work today, so I better hop to it. Later. Jesus Christ. Oh, thank goodness the torture's over. That hubby fellow she's been talking about, he must be a saint to stay married to her. Well, good for them, I suppose. The second-hand shop in Yongen Jaya, huh? We should take the line. That line. I don't want to say the name of the line again because I'm probably saying it wrong, but... Oh, there's Tay. The doctor for Joker and his gang. We're here. This is the first time I've been here, but it feels familiar somehow. I feel the same. I see. Well, no use ruminating on it. Or ruminating? I don't know. Anxious looking girl. It's fine saying foreign names wrong, don't worry. I know what's wrong, but I still don't like pronouncing them wrong. I can't seem to find anywhere that sells loose leaf tea. I'm still not used to reading Japanese either. If you don't practice it, would always be bad. I mean, yeah. I don't, so it will always be bad.
お目当ての作業台を
Ah,
頂
there's the
戴し
secondhand
なけれ
shop.
ば
Let's find ourselves a workbench. Okay, will you let me run Cafe LeBlanc? Joker's in there. Potentially. Look at that PNG. Damn, okay. Can I do some laundry? Or no, not here. Where's the laundry shop? Laundry? Here? Or back here? I'm surprised it's letting me go this far. Why is it letting me go so far? Okay, whatever. What about... Okay, that's where I have to go. I wanna... Let's go... Oh. Where is... Oh, man. Okay. There's Sojiro's home. Intriguing building. Charming house. It has a slight warmth to it. Wait, what was that? Hello from the shadows. Hi, Sojiro. How you doing? Keep a Joker in line? Well, not in there, but you know. Anyways, plot. Yo. Hello there. Can I help you find something? Do you sell workbenches? Oh, this is just delightful. Here you go. It's antique, but should still be up to the task. This one's on the house. Ooh. Are you sure? Don't worry about it. Just be sure to come around again, alright? I'll have to charge next time, though. It's big, so I'll have it delivered for you. You live in the city, yeah? In that case, it should be delivered by tonight. I'll be right back with the paperwork. It looks like you could have some intriguing things in there. Maybe. There's potential. I like those kind of shops, though. Pawn shops, or I've never been to a pawn shop, but what are they called? Thrift stores. I like thrift stores. Never know what you'll find in them. Arigato. Okie dokie. I'll get the ship to the address you gave. Come again. Okie dokie. Okay.
作業台確保のめどがつい
Okay,
て
workbench secured. Now let's head back to your house and await its arrival. Oh, what spam emails. So fucking annoying.
じゃあお祝いし
You were scouted? That's amazing. We should celebrate.
が早いって
Slow your roll. It still depends on how I do in the tournament next week.
選考会に招集
Just getting invited to compete is amazing in itself.
タモコ
You worked so hard for this.
それに比べて
Compared to you, I'm just aimlessly drifting through life. Same though, same. I have no idea where I'm going. Hey, Motoha. Do you ever miss baseball? Huh? Oh, well, I don't know. I was just thinking, if I win the tournament, maybe we could play catch together? Just like old times? Not as like hardcore training or anything, just simple fun. Oh, come on. You gotta at least be okay with playing catch with your best friend. Come on. Catch is so simple.
そう
Okay, sure.
よかった小学生の時以来
I
だ
think
か
the
ら
last time we got to play
一
together,
緒に野球でき
we
る
were
の
still in grade
何年
school.
ぶりか
Gosh, how many years is that? Are you really that? I guess it depends on what happened to her, I guess. Alright, I've got to win next week for sure.
なんでトモコが嬉しそうなんだか
You're just beaming, aren't you? Oh, so how are things with you lately? Any good news? Well, I wouldn't call it good exactly, but more like there's been some weird things going on that I'm interested in.
てかトモコこそ
Oh, wait, what about you?
入る前に話して
Who's this guy you're interested in? Ah,
枯渇の人なんだよね
he goes to Kokatsu, right? I could tell by your face before. So who is it? Somebody I know? Is it a full-on crush?
質問多すぎ
Sheesh, enough with the third degree. It's, the person who sits behind you.
私の後ろ
Ooh. Behind me? You mean...
あでも
Wait, hold on.
その好き
It's not that I like him necessarily. I'm just interested in him as a person, kinda.
じゃああれだ
Ah, I see. I mean, this isn't a great example, but remember in elementary school when there was that one player I really looked up to? Kind of like that? Oh yeah, totally. Anyway, I'm keeping an eye on him until I can find out more. You mean until you start getting misty-eyed and your heart goes aflutter? Pee pee pee. It's divine justice. Whoa, apparently there's another menace. Oh look, there's a post from Magatsukami. This looks serious. They'll be condemned tomorrow morning. We can't miss this. I guess it's stupid to look for love when the world's like this. The world is kinda shit. The world is shit. Class dismissed. Oh, is this when the meme happens? Sorry, talking about the tournaments made me want to get my body moving. It's cool. We got nothing going on, so I don't mind tagging along. Gosh, when was the last time I went to the Youngin batting cages? Hey, Moro. Listen. If going there brings back bad memories for you, we can totally just forget about it, okay? Oh, yo. Oh, it's Bunny. What's wrong? I don't know. I guess because of what we talked about before, now this. I see. Interested in him as a person, are we? You headed out somewhere, or are you on your way home? I stopped by the secondhand shop. I know that place, Youngin, right? Oh. Phew. Boy, am I thirsty. I'm just gonna go grab a drink real quick. What? Huh? What? Where are you going? Jesus Christ. Don't think about it. I'll be right back. Keep an eye on Tomoko for me, Bunny, would ya? Wait, come back. Motoha's taking her sweet time, huh? She's probably picking out drinks for us too. She's always putting other people first. I don't know if that's it. You know, Motoha's always been really selfless. Of course, it makes her a really kind person, but it also means she doesn't think enough about her own needs. Sounds like you guys are close. Known each other a long time? I think I finished censoring the video. Geez, that's hard. It can be. It definitely can be. Yeah, we were battery mates. Battery mates in Little League? Never heard that term. Unlike me, Motoha was this ultra-skilled baseball prodigy. Like, scarily good. Pitching, hitting, defense, she was a triple threat. She could definitely go pro. That's what everyone said. Even Motoha herself wanted to. It was her dream. I used to love listening to her talk about it. But there was an incident. She felt responsible for what happened. She ended up quitting because of it. Of course, it wasn't actually her fault. If anything, it was more of an accident. But how do I say this? She blamed herself for it. Yeah. Quitting something she loved that much must have been really hard on her. She was still depressed by the time she started high school. That's why I'm gonna chase that dream for both of us. I'll become a baseball player and leave a big mark enough to fill Motoha's shoes. That way, maybe she can love baseball again, and smile with her whole heart like she did back then. Someday, even if it's just for fun. I just want us to be battery mates again. That's a great dream. I'm rooting for you. Thanks. But please don't say anything to Motoha, okay? I don't want to burden her with it. This keychain's actually a present we exchanged back in Little League. She's a pitcher, so I got her the one shaped like a baseball, and she gave me the catcher's mitt. It's really precious to me. I seriously panicked when I almost lost it. Thanks again for finding it for me. When she quit, she said she didn't deserve to keep hers anymore and gave it back. But when the day comes that we can finally play together again, I'm gonna give it back to her. Sorry, I didn't mean to start talking about something so heavily. So heavy. Really sorry, Bunny. Speaking of, where is that girl? She still picking drinks? Oh, she heard everything. Tomoko's blind as fuck, but I am not. Okay, pull it together. Not in front of them. Sorry for the wait. I got some for everyone. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow morning on the platform for the Inogami line. Talk to you then. See ya. See you later. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, that's how kids your age mingle? Sounded complicated. The workbench should be arriving tonight. We should get home as soon as possible. Yes, we should. Jesus. Oh my god. There's an announcement on the Divine Justice site. Flashback. This one's in my recommendations. I don't know why that flying looks janky. I don't know. Oh, is it still on auto? Caught you off guard, didn't I? Forgive me. There's much I want to learn about you humans. It seems smartphones are very convenient sources of information. Anywho, your workbench should be arriving soon, yes? How long do you plan on staying? I don't see the issue here. Your parents are overseas, are they not? To be clear, I consider this place our base. To me, base is synonymous with home. What kind of logic is that? Now don't get upset, I understand. Whatever trouble me staying here causes, I promise I'll make up for it. Besides, if I stay here, I can teach you how to make infiltration tools. With those, we can surely get into Kyuchi's palace with ease. Kinda steamrolled me into it, but looks like Luful's gonna live here with me. Luful. I feel my bond with Luful growing deeper. Squatters' rights, let's go. Delivery. Looks like we'll need to assemble it first. Okay, let's bring it up to the second floor. I prefer to keep the first floor as a place for unwinding, so let's set it up in your room. Great. But my bed's up there. That's the unwinding place. Just lay down and chill out. Alright, nicely done. It fits the space perfectly, too. Very convenient. Now I can guide you on how to make infiltration tools. In the future, we'll craft them from supplies we've collected, but this time we can use what I have on hand. Found some like silver things or something, didn't I? Try making a hook. Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know. I do not know when. I don't know if doing this will immediately send me into another flood of scenes or not, so that is the end. That is the end of the stream. That is the end of the stream. Oh man, so much talking. I thought I'd get a break. But no, it's all in Japanese. Which is fine, just more talking than I thought. Oh, like I said earlier though, tomorrow's stream is going to be at some time. Again, since I work. I don't know when it'll be. Sooner than 8. I can say sooner than 8 p.m., but exactly when, I don't know. It could still be 4, it could be 5, it could be 6. We'll see. So just stay tuned, I guess. Ooh, thank you, Sirkin, for being here. I think Boko's iPad died on her, so I think that's why she vanished. Watching this in the future, Boko, thank you for being here too. Thank you everybody else who popped in, and I will see us all tomorrow. Right, Friday. Yeah, tomorrow. Those 2.5 hours felt so short. It did feel pretty short considering how much fucking talking I did. Bye, Anthony. Have a good working day. Thank you, thank you. You have a good day too. I'll try. Oh, it's been rough. Peace.